zero brain cells.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? I hope everyone's doing good. How's everyone feeling? Uh, I hope everyone's good today. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. TGIF, right? TGIF. Happy Friday. Thank God it's Friday. I told people don't talk to me about politics. Don't talk to me about anything that's happening in the country. This is what people have told me. People have told me this in my own family and friends. They don't want to hear about politics. They don't want to talk about politics. They don't want to uh, be involved in any politics. And this is just a chart that in 2004, only 65% of eligible Americans actually voted in the elections, right? So the sentiment is strong, right? More than 95 million people did not vote or have not voted, right? And I could say I have family members that don't vote, are not interested in voting. Hello, everyone. My name is Celso Garcia. I always jump right into it, right? I always say I'm not going to jump into it, and I always end up jumping into it, right? So, um, so what's going on? Don't talk to me about politics. I don't want to hear about politics, right? And they say don't talk to me about politics at all, right? I don't want to hear it, right? Some people at work say that. Some people in the grocery store say that. Some people are just disgusted with politics, and they kind of are like in a position that they feel that the best way to avoid politics is by not talking about them at all, right? They feel that the best way to avoid politics is by not talking about them, right? But I don't know if I can agree with that, right? Because if you don't talk about it, doesn't mean that it doesn't affect you. If you don't discuss it, doesn't mean it's gonna come and bite you, right? It's like the airport situation. Some people say, "Oh, don't talk to me about politics," but now they're stuck at the airport for hours, and then they realize that maybe if they talked a little bit more about politics and voted, maybe things wouldn't turn out the way they're turning out right now, right? So a lot of people are learning that maybe there's more to life than what your opinion says, right? More to life than what your opinion says. And so we can't get upset or worked up that people don't want to get involved in politics. But in the end of the day, politics is just part of life. It's part of the decision making processes that people use, right? To make a decision, an informed decision as to what they want to do with themselves, right? A lot of times it's people's frustration, right? Most of the time it's people's frustration with the political system to the point that they don't want to hear or um, want anyone to know what politics involved, right? They don't want to hear anything about the politics, especially in certain neighborhoods, um, in a lot of people in religious groups, in Latino groups, they just feel that the more they ignore the politics, um, they won't be affected by them, right? They feel like if they ignore the politics, they they don't have to deal with the politics. If they ignore or don't see what's happening, because that's very common, even more common now. The fact that people don't know about politics because not because they don't want to care about politics, or is it because they just want to be in their own world, right? Especially with social media, especially with a lot of stuff happening now. So many venues of entertainment, right? It's easy to get caught up in everything else and to be distracted by um, instant gratification, right? It's easy to get caught up with the instant gratification of life, fast moving, fast paced life that is currently the system in a capitalist country where everyone is trying to maximize their profits and everyone's trying to make as much money as they can to be able to survive in to just basically be able to survive, right? A lot of people are just trying to survive, and that's what happens. Most people are just trying to survive, right? And so we have to understand that people's survival is based on their material needs. And I don't get bothered when people tell me they don't vote, they don't believe in politicians. And believe it or not, the Republicans go out and vote no matter what. Even if they don't like the candidate, they make sure they vote, right? They make sure they write letters to their politicians. They make sure that they're involved in the political process because they know that there's less Republicans than they are Democrats or independents. So they want to be able to say, hey, I voted. I vote in every election, and you have to hear my voice and you have to hear me roar, right? That's just a reality. You they want you to hear them roar, and they don't ever stay out of politics, right? Especially the affluent, the people with more money. They spend millions of dollars, billions of dollars. They spend more money on political campaigns than they do spend on taxes or paying taxes, right? Because they want to make sure that their interests are protected. But the common person, or a lot of times in neighborhoods where there's a lot of minorities, we tend to say, we don't have time to vote. And so the power of the people gets diluted because even though there's more people living in a city center, living in a place where there's a lot more population and there's not a lot more people, they choose not to vote, and that hurts and dilutes the amount of power that BIPOC people have, minority people have, and so it just gets kind of crazy, right? And then There's people that are always willing to trample our rights or to get rid of our rights or not respect our rights, right? And this is what the SAVE Act is about. If you know, Donald Trump said he's not passing any legislation until the SAVE Act, right? Until the SAVE Act is passed. Because he knows the best way to win as a Republican is if there's less people voting, right? Lower voter turnout helps Republicans. High voter turnout helps Democrats. The higher the voter turnout means that Democrats had a higher showing, but Republicans have less voters, less people that register Republican, but they have a higher percentage of people that vote, right, in every election. Do you understand that? And so that's why people like Donald Trump take them more seriously because they always vote in every election, even if they don't like the candidates, right? That's what the Republicans do. They show up to the civic association, they show up to events because they know once they stop showing up, their voice gets lost and no one is going to listen to people if they're not there, right? If they don't have a seat at the table. So the best thing we could do is try our best of people that refuse to vote, right? I have family members that just refuse to vote. No matter what you tell them, they understand the politics, they say, but they still don't vote because they feel betrayed, they feel burned by politicians, they feel burned by those people that say they're gonna do so much and then they don't end up doing much, right? They say they voted for certain people over and over and they don't ever get any results out of it, right? They never get any results out of the people they vote for. They get backstabbed, um, they get a lot of fake promises, but they don't get any actual results. And so that leads to a lot of frustration, right? That leads to a lot of frustration that it's hard to overcome, right? Once you have all these frustrations, it's kind of hard to overcome this. And then that's when people become apathetic and they don't want to be involved. And I've tried to get people involved and they just don't want to hear it, right? People just don't want to hear it at a certain point in their life where they feel as if they're wasting their vote or they're wasting their time to fight for something that doesn't love them back, right? Or for people that don't love them back, they just want to get their vote, right? There's a lot of people that feel like that their vote is taken for granted. They want to feel important or feel that their vote counts for something good, right? People want their votes to count for something good, not just for a publicity stunt. Like when the politicians come and kiss the babies and kiss the families, hug the families, and we know it's a photo op. They don't really care if the people show up or not. And so I saw a video of Johnson getting caught in a hot mic. He was saying that they want to make sure that the vote is kept down, right? This is what this is what the SAVE Act is about. What Donald Trump is trying to pass is to try to keep people from voting, right? He doesn't want people voting because he knows when a lot of people come out, he's gonna lose, right? Donald Trump knows that. He's not dumb. He knows if it's a fair and square election and many people are just gonna stay home. And a lot of Republicans have been dropping out too. A lot of Republicans have been dropping out of the running for their seats, right? Right? Many Republicans have been dropping out from their seats because they said that they were elected to do one thing and they feel like they cannot win, they cannot do what they want to do as elected officials. Donald Trump has had a stranglehold on the decision making, um, how decisions are made in Congress. Right? Donald Trump has had a stranglehold and doesn't allow anyone to speak up or say what they have to say. Right? Sorry, sister, that you feel like that. So, according to the Census Bureau, 65.3% of U.S. citizens voted in the 2024 election, the third highest turnout in the past 34 years. Turnout increased by 13.1 percentage points since the most recent midterm elections in 2022, but decreased by 15%. Sorry, 1.5 percentage points since the 2020 presidential election. So, why are people not voting? Right? That's my question. Why are people not voting? Put it in the comments below. If you're one of those people, put it in the comments below so I can share with the audience. Right? That's the whole point, that I can share with the audience. Let's see. Which one should we do first? Okay, let's listen to special op from Israel. Special operations. What does it look? Sergeant, lieutenant. Let's listen to it. Give me 1 second. Let me put up that video. Just trying to pull up the video, everyone. So let's break down the numbers before I show you any videos. 65% voted in the presidential election. That set a new record. And in the midterms, 52% of people voted. So 65% of people voted. And a lot of these congressional people are getting older. They never developed a replacement or people that will be idealistic, ideologically align with them to replace them, right? They didn't build a base, right? Or stars that could attract people's votes, right? So it ends up being that Democrats pull way more votes than Republicans. Way more votes, right? Let's see. Listen to what Trump says. He always puts a foot in his mouth, right? Always putting his foot in his mouth. And then they fix it for him. So this is a video when Trump uh, put his foot in his mouth, contradicting things on Iran when they ask him, right? Let me see. People think I like talking to Trump or these people or about him. No, but I do care about the regular person that it's always being intimidated. Okay, this is Trump. Always finding a way to get praise. Always trying to get glazed, Trump, right? He wants to be the center of attention. He says the quiet part out loud here. He unfortunately says the quiet part aloud, and so you might get pissed off and wonder why you voted for him, and also the people that sat out, the independents also. You could have easily defeated another term, but this is what we get instead. We got another term with Trump. Everyone loves the American farmer, right? And he always gives so much money. Yeah. And how much money you cost them with the tariffs? Stop playing. always glazing himself. What does the EPA administrator do under this administration? I don't think the administrator does much other than disband um, a lot of the political stuff. Disband. Crazy, right? So, sorry everyone. Just had to get something. So, he always self glazes himself, everyone. Right? He glazes himself.
Thank you, Lee. And someone everyone loves. And they love in particular the job she's doing. Small Business Administrator Kelly Loeffler. Kelly, thank you very much. Thanks as well to John Hoven, Joni Ertz, Pete Ricketts, along with the chairman of the House Agricultural Committee, G.T. Thompson. And I tell you, they're fantastic people, and they are warriors. And representatives, Jim Baird, Randy Feenstra, Monica De La Cruz, Brad Finstad, Michelle Fishback, Mark Messmer, Victoria Sparks, Frank Lucas, Tracy Mann, Zach Nunn, Eric Van Orden. They're all out here. They want your votes desperately, desperately. They're only here for your vote. You know that. But they're here because actually they did a great job. Those were people that were the most, I would say, the most aggressive for the farmer, which is what we want. Other than me, they were right in there. I was more aggressive than any of them. But also with us is the CEO of
course.
Tractor Supply, Hal Lawton, who will soon open the company's 2,500th store in honor of America's 250th. Hal, thank you very much. It was great to meet you at the Oval Office 2 minutes ago. I also want to thank the president of the American Farm Bureau Federation, Zippy Duval. I've known Zippy for a long time. Zippy's been with me right from the beginning, right, Zippy? From day one, he liked Trump. He said, well, I don't know, but I just had a good meeting with him. I'm gonna go with Trump, right? That was in 2015. And very special thanks to the proud young parents of two beloved American institutions, Future Farmers of America and 4-H. Two great things. For 4 disastrous years before I took office, Sleepy Joe Biden and the Democrats in Congress crushed America's farmers with the worst inflation in the history of our country. Prices were going through the roof. So bad, it was so bad what they had done to our country. And by the way, in so many other ways too, borders and everything else. But they crippled the American agriculture industry with brutal restrictions and failed to negotiate even a single new trade deal on your behalf. Not one trade deal was negotiated on your behalf during the Biden administration, and we happen to be the exact opposite. We have so many trade deals, we don't know what the hell to do with them. We need more lawyers. But now the American farmers, ranchers, growers, and producers once again have a true friend and champion in the Oval Office. And in my first year back in the White House, farm income has soared by 20% very quickly. I repealed the Biden EPA's ridiculous water restrictions. You had water restrictions that gave you everything but water.
How many fake trophies that were made specifically for him is this guy going to get?
That is...
He didn't even participate in.
They went
I can't
hard.
figure out who should be more embarrassed, the guy who came up with the new award or the guy who proudly accepted the new award.
President Trump's fake awards becoming a punchline. This keeps happening. Speaker Mike Johnson just this week gave Trump a made-up award. This is amid the Iran crisis. The government's partially shut down, but that was apparently a priority, and without embarrassment, they did it in public. There has been a string of these made-up awards.
He is the suitable and fitting recipient of the first ever America First Award. We can think of no better title for what that is.
Wow. They're glazing Trump.
That's this beautiful golden statue here.
To show our appreciation, the trophy says the undisputed champion of beautiful clean coal. Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, this is your prize. This is your peace prize. There is also a beautiful medal.
A medal, a made-up peace prize. Some of this is frankly embarrassing. It's one thing if there was corruption and real annual awards were being diverted to Trump, which would, of course, weaken the value of those awards. But in many cases, as you just saw, that was the global soccer group, FIFA. They just made up a new award. So it's has no value. It's literally whatever the physical value of the couple $100 to have the fake shiny award. It's also deeper than just entities currying favor like international soccer. A president who is this easily swayed by flattery and awards can be compromised in foreign policy.
And you say you don't want to talk about politics. You don't want to get involved in politics, but this doesn't bother you. To say, oh, I only want to watch the movie stars. I only want to watch Hollywood, or I only want to watch YouTube streamers. But I don't want nothing to do with political or politics, right? There's a whole sector of people. How much was it? 95 million people that did not vote in the last presidential election. 65% of the people did vote. And mostly, there's more men that don't vote than there are women. Right? According to U.S. News and World Report, they came up with the numbers that a lot of people are just not voting. A lot of people are just not voting, not getting involved in the political process, not interested, and they'll probably ignore this podcast or this broadcast I'm doing on YouTube because they're not interested in any type of political talk.
And judgment. Consider that one of the opposition leaders in Venezuela where the U.S. has complex interests about who it wants to work with, tried to basically use and exploit Trump's very transparent need for these awards, something our prior guest just mentioned, to do something that you cannot do, to sort of regift her Nobel Peace Prize. She may have had good reasons for that and her strategy, and you can have a whole other segment on the complexities in Venezuela. But the fact that the president publicly posed for this photo that the White House government account then posted tells you a lot about the weaknesses at the very top of the White House food chain. As mentioned, this is not just about style. Trump is abusing government power. He's using the Justice Department to go after opponents in many cases that are failing and flailing, but involve real misdirection of taxpayer dollars, subpoenas, and government.
Your key to a cool.
What do you think? Like, you don't want to be involved in politics, right? But politics come to you, right? Right? It's sort of like Malcolm X said, you know, Plymouth Rock came to you, right? You didn't choose to do it, but it came to you because you were, it landed on you, right? Right? You didn't choose this, but you got no choice but to get involved in politics, right? And tomorrow is going to be the No Kings March. It should be a large crowd of people being involved. And then Sunday, Bernie Sanders will be taxing the rich. He'll be marching and speaking in New York City. He'll be taxing the rich, right? Bernie Sanders will be taxing the rich. So even Hassan Piker will be at this event, letting people know to tax the rich. A lot of people coming from all over to do massive protests in New York City, right? There'll be massive protests, not just New York City, but all across the country. There'll be No Kings protests. But people say, oh, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to be involved in this protest because I'm apolitical. I don't get involved in politics. I don't get involved in things that are happening around me because all I want to do is work and come home and eat and continue with my life, right? Don't want nobody bothering me. Don't want to get more responsibility. But in the end of the day, we're all responsible for the politics of this country, right? Even if we don't want to be involved, we should be involved, right? We should be civically engaged. And that's why in the schools, they're no longer teaching civics. They're no longer telling people about getting involved. And quite frankly, the United States is fine with a low voter turnout, right? And Trump's biggest thing was to go against taxing the rich, and he goes with giving tax cuts to the rich, right? The first thing that Trump did was give tax cuts to the billionaires and to the rich. They got their tax cuts, and now what is his next move? He wants to gain popularity. He wants to curry favor, especially among Latino males or any group, independent, any groups that he might be vulnerable to or that might change their mind, because Donald Trump did gain Latino men, and he did gain Black men, and women. He also gained white women. That you would be surprised, right? Because you would think that a lot of them will vote for Hillary. I mean, sorry, for Kamala Harris, but they didn't. Some of them chose to stay home, and people say, I'm not going to get involved. No King's protests. Why should I be involved? I have a job. Uh, I have stability. Why should I get involved if we don't have kings in the United States, right? We don't have kings in the United States, right? Always. We always say that. We don't have kings in the United States, but we continue to allow effort after effort of undermining and allowing Donald Trump to use his own script. And I don't know if you saw, but U.S. service members were injured in Iranian strike while Trump makes jokes on stage. So he was just not taking it seriously. The fact that there might be casualties, right? Right? He acknowledged that there might be casualties. So you tell me. And I want to hear this guy, what he has to say. Curcella. How Donald Trump was supposed to speak at CPAC, the conservative think tank, one of the biggest Christian think tanks. Donald Trump was supposed to go speak there, and he canceled, which a lot of people were upset with him for canceling. But I don't know. I don't know what to say. You either vote or you vote for the wrong person, and you don't want nobody to tell you that maybe you'll be better off if you vote for your own interests, right? Let's listen to what he has to say. So he's under intense pressure and intense heat from his base, including Christian nationalists that want payback for what they contributed. And Donald Trump instead is trying to avoid them, right? And he's saying he's monitoring the situation all the time. And so I don't know if they are that motivated, right? Mhm. Exactly. It's hard to say, oh, you did something good, because we don't know what the intentions are. Why are they trying to align themselves with the other side? All of a sudden, everyone wants to align themselves with people they don't get along with. It's okay if he feels comfortable, but I don't know if he does. Um, let's listen to it a little bit more. Thank you for the follow on Instagram. Everyone's just kissing Donald Trump's behind. That's just a reality. Everyone wants to curry favor with him, even the most powerful people in our society, even the biggest banks, the biggest law firms, all want to do whatever possible to keep Trump happy, right? They're willing to do anything possible to keep him happy. So, but I appreciate you all for joining me. Hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. Thank you for the subscription on Instagram. Thank you for the subscription. And so we're at that point of inflection where we got to think, what are we going to get out of this by supporting these candidates or supporting these people, right? What are we getting out of it? Because they're all making really big promises. but they're not delivering.
It was funny. I saw a tweet a couple of days ago from this kind of weird conservative influencer adjacent person, but really just kind of a bigger Twitter account. And it was, you know, I'm hearing word that Donald Trump has canceled on CPAC, and Donald Trump has also, you know, canceled a fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago. I wonder what's going on with Donald Trump. And I kind of laughed at it and took it half seriously, because this isn't like a report out of Axios that this is happening. But we have it confirmed this morning that Donald Trump, for the first time in a decade, has abruptly canceled an appearance at CPAC. I think it's likely, like I wouldn't be shocked if he sent some video message, 3 minutes of, well, quite frankly, me, and we love me, and you all love me, and I'm so fantastic. And that was the whole speech. I've unfortunately worked on it too much.
Is he trying to hide from his base? That's what people are arguing, that he's hiding from his base because his base is unhappy with him. But the polls don't show that. The polls are showing that people are sticking by him no matter what. He has a high popularity rate among Republicans, and his popularity rate is even higher among MAGA. Among MAGA people, he's very among MAGA. Can be persuaded or can be brought down. How do you convince people that he can be influenced? Right? That maybe he's not standing up for their best interests. How do you convince a whole group of people that maybe Donald Trump does not have a master plan, and he probably doesn't have a master plan in Iran, and he doesn't have an economic master plan? As you saw the meltdown today of the stock market, right? The stock market corrected and lost a lot of points. And Donald Trump just tried to ease tensions by saying that the stock market is going to shoot up again. Don't worry. That all the people that lost money in their 401ks, don't worry. This is only temporary. Right? The losses that people got is only temporary. The oil price is going up. The gas price is going up. It's only temporary. And everything's going to go back to normal once we finish this war, which the United States is in a bad position. Rush into it as if it was an emergency and it had to be carried out right away. Right? That was the urgency of them attacking Iran. They had a sense of urgency. Like they had no other choice. Right?
But I think that this comes at a time, very interestingly, when Donald Trump is dealing with the fallout from his war with Iran, not just on Capitol Hill, but with MAGA influencers who will be at CPAC and who get very vocal at these things. The last CPAC that we saw a topic of this magnitude come up on was with the Epstein files, when they were all trying to like figure out where the base was at and whether they wanted them released. And so I just see this as kind of a big moment that MAGA is going to war with themselves. Donald Trump doesn't want to be there to watch it. And also, maybe this is just his health is that bad that he doesn't want to travel. There's just so much to unpack here.
Yeah, I think it's probably all of the above, but I definitely think if he goes to CPAC, he's going to get heckled. And it's either going to be for protecting pedos in the Epstein files, launching this illegal war, or it's going to be for the economy, because the polling this week on his economic record on inflation and everything else is horrible. Like, think about how fairly or unfairly unpopular Joe Biden was on the economy. Trump is more unpopular than that right now. And it's sinking in, even with conservative voters who are paying the price at the pump because of what's going on in Iran right now, this illegal war that they've launched. So I think he's in trouble, and they're openly feuding. Like, I don't know if you saw this, like Megyn Kelly and Mark Levin have been fighting back and forth for the last 2 weeks, to the point where Megyn Kelly
He had a
yeah, go ahead. You can say it.
said he had a micro.
A micro, yeah.
Well, we don't want to get censored on Substack, so I don't know what words we're allowed to say. But
I think you're good on. I think you're good on Substack.
Not working with a lot.
Not going to endorse in this race. Why is that? Because the hard work of the grassroots community got in back of Ken Paxton. They dropped almost $100 million of negative ads on Ken Paxton. And right now in the latest poll, Ken Paxton is up by 8 points.
Is it the headliner?
That's a victory for you. Ken Paxton's emblematic of the grassroots and the MAGA movement throughout the nation. It's more than just an attorney general, more than just an individual. It was about the establishment causing a mess in the state of Texas, refusing to deal with it. And when Paxton came out and ran for the Senate, he didn't have to be defeated. He had to be destroyed, just like they tried to destroy Donald Trump. And you had his back. And that's why Paxton is grinding this out to victory. I also believe there needs to be a major investigation of the Cornyn political operation, how they raised this money, who put the money in, and how the money was spent to destroy Ken Paxton. It's not acceptable. The grassroots are winning all over the place. Look in the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia. They're trying to shift the House to be 10-1. The Republican establishment there absolutely epically failed, and then Youngkin walked away after a horrible putting forward a campaign this last election cycle. The grassroots under Jeff Ryer, a grassroots chairman of the GOP in Virginia and the Commonwealth, have got thousands of grassroots volunteers, people just
Thousands of volunteers. Well, then Trump doesn't show up. Make it make sense, people. Trump was too busy for MAGA people, a big convention. When for most MAGA influencers show up, but they're saying he doesn't want to be heckled, or maybe he doesn't want to be asked too many questions.
like yourself going door to door right now. And Spamberger's landslide on April 21st looks like she could be defeated. So her entire plan to flip the House and impeach Trump and become Newsom's vice president is being thwarted right now by grassroots people. In a courtroom in Georgia right now, they've got the toughest, most expensive lawyers from the left, Norm Eisen and Abby Lowell, in a 5-hour evidentiary hearing. What? To get the evidence back, to get the ballots back. Why? The 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump, and they know it. You think they have them down there and just like in this room, grassroots people fought for 6 years. They threatened them with prison. They threatened them with bankruptcy. They threatened them to lose their jobs, lose their families, all of it. And those heroes stood in the breach. And now we have the evidence. We have the evidence that the Republican establishment did not want you to see, that the 2020 election was stolen from Trump. Everywhere you look around, the Republican establishment creates a mess that you have to go in and clean up. Amen, brother. Too good for him. Victory begets victory. Forward. A victory in Virginia will drive us forward. A victory in Georgia will drive us forward to ultimate victory. Don't listen. I don't want to hear talk about the midterm. I don't want to hear talk about 2028. There are decades in which nothing happens, and there are weeks in which decades happen. We're in those weeks, one after the other, after the other, after the other. You put your shoulder to the wheel, and we are going to win. We're going to hold the House and hold the Senate and have President Trump come back to mass deportations, right? Mass deportations to unchain Bobby.
More data. We know a lot of deficiencies in children. Of course. Oh, God.
What's important? Not Candace and Tucker and Megyn Kelly or Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro. What is important is you. You need to come to your own conclusion, to weigh and measure the evidence, to think about the direction of this republic, to think what America First actually stands for, to think through who are our real allies and who are out for themselves. And most importantly, you need to think about a country that puts American citizens first, that American citizens have priority over everything. People are sitting there going, oh, this person didn't come, this person didn't come. Yes, there are many great people that couldn't make it. Either they didn't want to come or they're tied up running wars and looking after the country. It doesn't matter. You came. This is the power of this movement. The only way we're going to win in November is to go back what got us through in 24, what got us through in 20, what got us through in 16.
You might go to jail, right?
Grassroots effort, going door to door to get low propensity, lower information voters, Trump supporters to the polls. And if we do that, the Sunland uproot is in front of us. If we don't, if we just have these quarrels and this bickering and this fighting, and lose the fact of what happened in Texas in January and February, if we lose what's happening in the Commonwealth of Virginia now, if we lose the fact of 6 years of struggle in Georgia, we now have the evidence of the 2020 stolen election. If you lose what's important, then we're going to lose the country. Fight on.
Last time he said you might go to jail, right? If they don't win, they're going to go to jail. They said it. If they don't win, they're going to go to jail. So change the tone. Change the tone. And this is what happened today. Trump loses power over markets as oil jumps and stocks plunge. Donald Trump is losing his sway over financial markets with his latest claims of Iranian peace talks failing to soothe oil prices and stocks. Right? I said I'm not talking about politics. Right? Because we shouldn't talk about politics. Right? Why talk about politics? Brent crude oil climbed as much as 3.3 PCs on Friday to more than $111 a barrel, despite the U.S. president announcing a 10-day extension of negotiations between Washington and Tehran. So global stocks also continue their slump, right? So he tried real hard to get the stock market to go up before the weekend, and instead it plunged, and he had to give a speech. Not a usual speech for Trump, because it was only a stand and him. I'm just joking. So let's listen to billionaire John Catsimatidis, CBS News. This is a billionaire, by the way. Listen in. Well, let's hear what he has to say. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Billionaire, Donald Trump's friend, and now also Zora Mandani's friend, right? Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you. Politics. Everyone should be involved. All right.
And I ended up, I skipped the dinner on Wednesday night, some congressional dinner, and I went to City Hall and we spent.
And then yesterday, sitting down with President Trump in the White House. John Catsimatidis wears many hats. He ran for mayor in 2013.
Gristedes
And he
owner,
owns, among other things, the Gristedes grocery chain and the WABC radio station where he hosts his own show. John Catsimatidis joins me now to talk about all of that
and he
and
gave a
more.
show
Welcome back to the
Andrew
program.
Cuomo.
Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank
He
you
also
for
gave a
having me.
show to
And
Andrew Cuomo.
I'm always happy to come down here. And I can't believe how busy 23rd Street is and how busy the Chelsea Markets is.
The Chelsea Market gets a lot of foot traffic. There's a lot of tourists downstairs. So listen, I want to work backwards. You were at City Hall, I think, on Wednesday, and then yesterday you were in Washington, and this was a Greek Independence Day celebration, right?
Well, on a Thursday, yes, there was originally I made an appointment to see the mayor at 2:30 at City Hall on Wednesday, and I also
he's been bashing the mayor, saying he hasn't accomplished much, and now he's changing his tune because he needs them. Billionaires need millionaires and people that just receive the local income, right? Don't be shy. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the follow button and hit the like button. So this guy's a billionaire. He's meeting up with the mayor one-on-one because these rich people really believe in how exceptional they are. And no one else is good enough except for them, right? But I appreciate you, John Cassimatidis. He is Greek, is he? And he says he supports Soran, but his radio station has been bashing Soran. So which one is it? Okay. Oh. One of my students will cover one of the last parts, right? We're just in trouble overall, right? We're just in trouble when the billionaires, the millionaires control everything. And you, as a viewer, don't want to get involved in politics. And then we have billionaires and these people that control everything, your salary, where you move, where you want to live. They control everything in your life based on the laws that they pass, based on the rules they make against you and the rules they make for you. But we always have to remember that we are good people and we won't be influenced by big money in politics at all. We'll be influenced by religion and by freedom of religion and willing to fight for the freedom of all, right? So, but this will be short. Gotta get up really early to drive. I appreciate your comments, your follows, your shares so much. Every single subscriber counts so much to me. Every single share, counts a lot. I appreciate you all. And may God be with you. Que Dios esté con ustedes. Y amen. Have a good night, everyone. Take care of yourself. And hopefully, we have better people representing the city, not billionaires wanting a private meeting with the administration, right? But I appreciate you all. Let me get off of here for this short episode. So, should we tax the rich? That's the question. Should we tax the rich? People like him that have been around